Guys, from the humble exterior of this building, inside lies the holy grail of Harley-Davidson panhead, shovel head, and knuckle head building. There is an incredible collection of memorabilia in here, and it's going to absolutely blow your mind. So let's go check it out. What's happening, guys?
Yo.
Hey,
Hi, Vivian. How are you? Hi, Barry.
How was the trip?
Not too bad, man. Good to see you. Thanks for being here today. How you been, man? Good. Who's the shop mascot?
That's Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Marvelous Molly, the wonder dog.
Big girl.
So Vivian and Barry have, well, Barry, I guess at one point this was the #1 engine building for most of the custom shops. I think to summarize it, and you said it earlier, the only two guys you really haven't made engines for yet would be Willie G and Arlen Ness.
Arlen Ness,
but
those
pretty
were the
much
two that I really wanted. Yeah, and Arlen said I was too expensive, which means give me a motor. And Willie said, well, we'll talk about it. Man, we never talked about it.
So how many engines total have you guys built here over the years?
We're somewhere from 1986 to present. We're somewhere around 4,000.
4,000 engines.
We had one client we did 812 engines for. Then we had our own line of engines called the Barry Wardlaw Signature Series.
While
engine.
we're talking, if it's okay with you, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I want to show them the stuff on the walls here because there's no way this will be a 4-hour show if we don't start moving
Sure,
here. So
sure.
go ahead,
Go ahead.
keep talking.
And so what we did was we had rebuilds going. We had our own line of engines going. We had a custom line of engines going, and we had contracts with two different companies. One being Panzer panheads, and then a lot of the Captain America bikes and the Billy bikes that you saw through Paco were our engines also that we did through them. And some of those were contracted through Panzer also. But that it took a long time. At one time, I had 8 engine assemblers going at one time. And then we would run each engine as they were finished and retorque them and things of that nature. But yeah, it was a dream come true, and I've been very, very fortunate, and I'm grateful for those opportunities. I tell you, it's something else. The little boy's dream came true, and sometimes they often don't. But
I had heard you've been building motors for 55 years now, pretty much 5 decades. Is that true?
I'm only 64. So that put me at 10. No, but I've been tinkering with this stuff since I was 12. I got my mini bike at 12. Before that, I was a model builder. You know, no one builds models anymore. What the hell's wrong with the world? Got to build models, you guys. But I built models, and then I got my mini bike, and that was it. It went from plastic to steel immediately. And the dirt bikes, like you and I love our dirt bikes. I had a Steams, a Hodaka Steams, and then my beloved Bultacos, and especially my Bultaco Alpinas. But I started working on motorcycles in 1976, but I was also a painter. And so during that time, I kept my painting contracts going so I could afford to work in a motorcycle shop, to tell you the truth. And then after going through several shops and friends' shops, I liberated a car in Shreveport, Louisiana, and drove till I had to fall asleep. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. And I remembered that there had been a motorcycle school that I had written to years before. So we looked it up in the phone book, and I didn't know how the streets were made in Phoenix, so we're like right by the interstate, and we drive out by Deer Valley Airport on like 7th Street or 7th Ave or whatever it was. It took blooming hours. I didn't know it was that far away. But we go there, and it was Motorcycle Mechanics Institute right by Deer Valley Airport. And I went in and I took the tour, and in one room, they had more equipment in one room than all those bike shops I'd ever been in combined. I went, I got to do this. I got to get a hold of this equipment. So I asked them what this was on a Friday, and they said their next class started on Monday. I said, I'll be back. I drove from Phoenix, Arizona to Shreveport, Louisiana, picked up my 41 Knucklehead, drove from Shreveport, Louisiana, back to Phoenix, Arizona, and was there for class Monday morning. And it was crazy. Oh, it was nonstop. And I ran into some great, oh man, Dave Kashalit, who was one of the instructors out there, became my mentor, and he came to me one day and he said, Barry, Harley Davidson has agreed to come to MMI and they're going to start a program here. Would you like to be involved? I said, yes, Dave. And he said, sign this paper. I was the first guy to sign the paper, the very first class, and I was in with my dear friend Rod Balch and Dave Kashalik. We're still friends. I see him on Facebook. He did very well, and I have a lot of gratitude for him. I'm indebted to that guy. I love that guy to death. But that's how it started, and so I went from
What
there.
year was that again? I didn't catch that. What year? When you
It was
went?
1982.
82. That's when you went to MMI. Yep.
In 1982, and I was in the first graduating class of the Harley Davidson class of MMI. And,
Which campus was it? Daytona, or
No, Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Right across from Deer Valley Airport.
Okay.
It's the old place. Well, we were in a metal building much like this and a trailer house, and now they have a huge complex across the interstate. But yeah, that was a great time back then. Learned a lot. So from there, I went to work for Oceanside Harley Davidson, which was in Phoenix. Actually, went back to Louisiana, then Oceanside Harley Davidson, which was in Phoenix, and it was owned by Jim Fisher. During that time, Buddy Stubbs ended up buying it. He was on McDowell at the time. We were out on Cave Creek Road, and I went to work with Buddy. And Harold and Dennis kept the McDowell store open, and Buddy was up on Cave Creek. And then I just had the itch, man. I wanted to machine stuff. I wanted to weld stuff. I wanted to build stuff rather than be a parts replacer. So I opened Accurate Engineering on Cave Creek Road in 1985.
So you opened your first shop in 1985.
The very first one I opened up was in Fort Worth called Hard on Harleys, but that's another story. In fact, the very first sign is right up there. That was it, and that's where you saw where my Burmese python ate the city.
That was, yeah. We definitely got to show the folks
Yeah,
that. Guys,
yeah.
there's so much here that Barry shared with me in the last couple hours. Stay tuned because you might miss something really amazing. I think we need to. You're probably wondering who the pretty lady is here in the racing jacket. As soon as I saw, I was like, I love your jacket. It's awesome. This is Barry's better half. Barry, in your words, what are the top things that people would want to know that your better half here has accomplished in the world of motorcycling? Because very few women have done what she's done. Give us a quick rundown, because I know she's going to be humble. So
Well, people know her as Gypsy, but I call her Miss Vivian. She's like my Yankee Belle, since she's a Yankee and I'm a Southerner. I can't get a Southern belle, so she's my Yankee Belle. But she's been in the motorcycle. I met her in the motorcycle. She was a photojournalist, and I had read her writings and things of that nature, enjoyed all that stuff. But she ran in similar groups as mine. We knew who each other were. We never had met. And then we ended up at an event in Shreveport, Louisiana, a drag race event. And she came up from Houston, and we all rode over. And what we did was we kind of got to know each other there. And we go back home, and Billy Lane calls me up one day and says, "Hey, man, Discovery Channel called me." And what was his name, Vivian, the old producer?
Hugh King.
Hugh King. Hugh King called Billy Lane and said, "How can I get in touch with Gypsy?" And so Billy calls me and said they wanted to do a biker build-off. So I called Gypsy in Houston, and of course she never answers her phone, and she doesn't return phone calls. So after multiple tries, I finally got in touch with her, and I said, "Man, you've been asked to do a Discovery Channel show."
Well, that was after I had one of my other bikes that I built. And
Yeah, but we can't tell the whole story. But let me get to this. This is what he asked me to. He asked me to
I'm letting you go.
the highlight. I'm gonna do the
highlights,
highlights.
yeah. The highlight reel.
I'm gonna do the highlight. So we're doing the cliff notes.
Yeah.
So
I know it blew me away when I didn't know that you had your own Discovery show. And folks, guys, if you want to see her show, where can they watch your show? It's on Discovery Go. What was the title to it?
It was the Biker Build-Off, and it was the Vivian Gypsy Charo. They even misspelled my last name. Versus Kim Suter at KC Creation.
And that's a guy, not a woman. And
Yeah.
and you won the Biker Build-Off.
Yes,
What
I
year
did.
was that?
That was
This is
2000
it.
and...
This was the.
Here it is.
This is it, and it was.
Check it out. You want to check out
2000
this young lady right here?
2006.
Season
2006
3,
Biker Build Off Season 3, Episode 8, Gypsy Charo versus Kim Suter. Check her out. This is a real deal. She had her own show, and she won. She built the bike herself, so she's not just another lady who got a license to ride. She's a racer, too. She also raced, right? I got pictures of you up top there. I seen you racing at Daytona, right?
You went to the class. She went to the.
I went to the Keith Code Corner in
Keith
school,
Code
the
Okay.
California
Yeah.
Race Bike School.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You want to say you went to race bike school?
Oh my God, so much fun. So
I
much
got it to her for a birthday present.
So the Biker Build Off. What else would you put on her list of accomplishments?
Oh, well, she did that, and she won, and the motorcycle thing is good. But what I have found is, apparently, she can out deer hunt me. Seemingly, I have become the chauffeur to bring back the bucks.
So she's a hell of a shot too. Okay.
I'm not real happy about that.
Now, who's badass Super Glide Dyna is this right here?
This is my new motorcycle, one of my new motorcycles. This is a 2012 that we found. It has 5276 miles.
It's basically a
on it.
brand new Dyna. These are super
brand
hot.
new.
My favorite
Yeah,
all-time
yeah, brand
Harley to
new.
go fast on.
Brand new.
This or the FXR.
Yeah.
How do you like it so far?
So very excited. I have some lock and bags and stuff like that because we have some camera equipment and stuff
sure?
that we're traveling with that I can't have the leather bags and stuff. But yeah, very excited and so responsive. I mean, I don't know what it is about the swing arm frames. I mean, I used to run swing arms with my shovel heads and stuff like that, but then I got my soft tail. They're just so nimble. They're just so
Handles like a
nimble.
dream, doesn't
Yeah,
it? It's like you
yeah,
can ride all day on
yeah.
that thing.
And
And
this
you got it
front
hooked up right with the windshield and the
Yeah.
bars and the bags. You're good to go.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm good to go.
You can pack your stuff in there and take off for the weekend.
Or longer.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
That's
what I
awesome.
want. Yeah.
Hey, if you guys ever come up north, you got a place to stay with me up at the museum. So at our
We'll do
place,
it.
Yeah.
hopefully
yeah.
we'll see you up there.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, well, you're invited. So
Well, you know, like I was telling you earlier, I grew up in Manchester, so.
Manchester, Connecticut. So it's your old
Manchester,
stomping grounds.
Connecticut, yeah.
You probably know some of the guys that I ride with there. You know.
Well, probably not, because right about the time that I was about 15, I said, it's too freaking cold up here.
That was smart. It is.
and
It's
I- and I
snowing
moved-
there today, by the way.
Yeah, and I moved south, so.
So, guys, if you want to see more of these two and what they're doing, they are starting a YouTube channel also. What's the name of your channel?
Shop dope with Barry.
Shop Dope, like DOPE, with Barry, BERRY. And check them out. And they're also filming a movie. Isn't there a movie that you guys are
We
filming?
did it. It's been wrapped up. It was with Charlie Brechtel. Charlie Brechtel and Dennis Sanfilippo put that together. Charlie was the director. Dennis was the producer. Here's an interesting one. Dave Nichols, the old editor of Easy Rider, he was the main director and also did the screenplay and wrote the story. So, but that's wrapped up. 1 year. It's going to come out this spring. They're going to have the premiere in Milwaukee. Don't have a date on it yet, but it's coming.
This is a badass ride right here. Panhead Springer hardtail
Yeah,
with
this is gonna
the
be
scallop
sweet.
tank. My goodness. that
Yeah,
is
we're
beautiful.
making the gas tank. This started out as an old Dyna style tank, but I'm gonna put the ignition switch here, and we've got more work to do on it. But yeah, this is
In
another
process.
project here. We have plenty of projects.
Guys, I touched on it earlier, but I want to reiterate a couple points. One, when you were in the heyday back in the 90s and 2000s, when you had 17, 20, how many guys you had working here, this was a factory where they pumped out world-class panhead, shelva head, evolution too, I think.
We did
Knucklehead.
some evolutions every once in a while, then we had a rebuild program going on too, but we got so involved in the vintage stuff, it became so popular. We ended up having engines in 27 different countries. It was unbelievable. It wasn't something I planned. I had a passion for the vintage engines, and I was working with Lou Trachtenberg, STD, Lou, let's come out with some panheads. I wanted to make a new panhead. And you couldn't buy crankcases with the races in them and all that stuff. That just wasn't happening. In fact, a lot of the times we would have to use some STD cases or a lot of Delcron, and we would have to put the races in and line lap them. It wasn't easy like it is now. It's very easy now, or much easier, I should say. So it all evolved over time. The whole thing kept evolving. We were sending, at one time, we were doing sending out 32 engines every 14 days. And and that went on for about 18 months. It was crazy.
32 engines for how many days?
Every 2 weeks, every 14 days, we'd send out 32, and we did that
So that's
for
like
18 months.
60. That's 60 engines a month,
I'm
right?
from Louisiana. I can't do that math.
For 18
I have to
months.
pull my boots off, count my toes.
That's a whole bunch of motors.
That's
And
a lot.
Gaggles.
where were those going to?
All over, just all over. But a lot were for Panzer, a lot were for other companies, and then I got to do some beautiful custom work, and that's where my forte was, because the other guys were mainly doing the standard style engines, the signature series engines, or the ones for Panzer, or the ones for Paco, and then I would do the stuff for like Billy Lane and Indian Larry when they would want something crazy for a particular show they were doing. I wasn't their only engine builder, but doing the crazy stuff, we had a great relationship doing that. The Covingtons, holy cow, who hasn't seen Lucifer
my
1,
God.
Lucifer 2? Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? That's the crazy. They're up on the wall here, and we did them for Russell Mitchell and
Matt
Michael
Hodge,
Puglisi and just on and
Amen
on.
Cycle.
You had mentioned a statistic earlier. I think it was of Indian Larry's bikes that were in Easy Riders. I think 6 out of the 14 you had done the motors or something like that.
I did 5 engines for Larry, and then 12 for Indian Larry motorcycles. But the 5 that I did with Larry were stuff that he came down here and we would just coordinate what he wanted, and I would build them specifically how he wanted them. I normally use a certain type of a valve. He wanted to run Manley valves, so he picked his recipe, and I would put it together. Okay. So a lot of the things I did with Larry weren't things that he couldn't do. It was time was so valuable, so we would share these recipes, share our experiences, and we would do something. Larry came popular in the with the biker build-offs and things of that nature. But I actually had talked to Larry back in the '80s. I saw him in Super Cycle magazine, and called a shop. It's actually a tattoo shop up in New York, and that's how I got in touch with him. So we had touched bases years before all this craziness happened. Before the big bike boom happened.
Barry, can you touch a little bit on your racing success? Because that's something the world, these guys that are maybe seeing your shop for the first time, the inside of anyways. Listen, anybody who's picked up an Easy Rider magazine who's over 50 years old has seen your motors. Anybody who's watched the Bikers Build-Offs has seen your motors. Anybody who's, but they may not know about the racing part, and you've set the world land speed record on a shovelhead powered motorcycle at one point, didn't you?
Well, I've always considered myself a wannabe racer, because I never made the full commitment, because quite frankly I wasn't damn good enough. But I dabbled with my Bull Tacos, and then of course the Elsinore came out, and we never saw the front of another motorcycle again. That was it. So and then later on in the early 90s, I was drag racing a 4-speed Truett tanker frame shovel head, and I ran 949. It was very similar to this bike here. Very similar. It was a 4-speed. It was just identical.
949?
Quite frankly. 949.
In the quarter mile?
139.9. I never got 140.
That's
114 cubic inch
That's
shovel
moving.
head 4-speed. Yeah, people go, my street bike will do that. Go try it with a trouble head. A 4-speed trouble head.
Yeah.
And man,
Just
I'll tell
shifting
you
it
what.
takes 3 of
But
those
there
9
were other
seconds,
guys-
right?
But there were other guys that were faster than that with shovel heads too. So
This thing's
but
beautiful. Look at this thing.
That's what started it, and I just fell in love with it. And then I've always had this thing about Bonneville. I told you the story earlier about the Art Arfon story, but we were at a trade show up at Cincinnati, and I was with Keith Ball, who was Bandit, the old editor of Easy Rider for all those years. And he and I were having a discussion about Bonneville, and I said, if you want to go, I'll do a motor. So I did one of my 120 cubic inch panhead called my Outlaw 120. It was a 4.5 inch stroke, 4 1/8 inch bore, 8 inch rod motor, and high deck STD cases. And we put that in a street bike. And John Reed, it was a John Reed frame. Holy cow, I forgot all about that. And it went it's a street bike, leaky panhead, 147 miles an hour. So we decided to go all out, and we went, Keith picked a class. He had a Paco build him a frame, and we put another 120 in it. These are street motors now. And we went 161 miles an hour, set a record, but the problem with that was we never could get traction. we had a difficult time. The salt was very bad that year. We just spun the tire all 5 miles. But
Is that dangerous at that speed to have the tire spinning? Is it like
Sure,
you
sure.
can
But
high side
Valerie
or something?
Thompson was riding it, so she got the fear factor.
Yeah, she's not scared. She doesn't have a fear gland.
And man, she'd have rode it 200 if it would have gone 200.
She just twisted all the way, and
But we did. But we set two.
never
Wow.
had a chance to hit the
it would
button
just spin,
because
right?
the salt was
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah,
It
but
just-
we set 2 world records with her. But it's interesting. On the side, we had side panels on the side of the bike. Well, there was a lady there that had multiple sclerosis, and she was having to use these weights. And so we took these panels off, unbeknownst to any of the tech people, and we duct taped all of her weights up to the frame. That's all we had. Just duct tape to
We
get
just-
as much weight on the rear end.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that I've often looked up to. He was set many records and at Bonneville, Mike Jocan. And he did the chopper cookbook, the electrics, and just a real neat guy. Mike's frame worked out of old Dothan, Utah years ago. Brother Speed, as a matter of fact. A friend of mine now, named Gary, put me on the phone with him, and I said, here's what we've done. And he loved the part where we duct taped the weights in there. But we changed our tire pressure, we changed the gear ratio, we duct taped the weights in there, and we were able to achieve a speed of 161, and it was still spinning the tire the entire way.
That's-
So,
Yeah, naturally
That's
it's
moving.
great.
but we made it.
Yeah.
We got the record, did it 2 ways, got the record, and we never went back. We didn't go back. But my intention is to run this one. This bike's coming down. This is going to be a dual carb knucklehead.
When do you plan on running this one?
We wanted
Very-
to run it this year in July, but with my father, things have happened in my family. I don't know if we're going to have the time to finish it, but Jay Rogers puts on a heck of an event up in Humboldt, Iowa, and with the greatest grocery store in the world. You ever go to Humboldt, go to their damn grocery store.
We'll have to stay in touch. If you're going to do it, I want to come out and be part of it.
Oh, and
I'd
you
love
would-
to.
And you would- it's a who's who of people, especially vintage old racers, drag racers. It's a who's who of the people there.
Oh, it's
and
awesome.
Jay puts on just a wonderful event. We had Rocky Rockstone. We had him up there with us last year.
Yeah,
Jim Martin.
It's on the
Holy, just so many. Leo Hess was there. Leo Hess won the event, and last year it was in honor of Joe Smith of drag racing fame. This is what we're trying to get this. So this is actually in a mock-up state. And as a matter of fact, this bike, this guy that owns this bike was at Bonneville when we were there. He got addicted to it. He goes and builds this thing. He contracted Bonnie Truitt to build this frame for him in 1986. He never put the bike together. He sees us at Bonneville, comes back, puts this thing together with a 120 Ultimate, it goes out and beats our record by 7 miles an hour. So me and Vivian went and bought the motorcycle.
Hey, if you can't beat them, join
But
them, right?
we're gonna pull it out and put a dual carb knucklehead in it because I'll never be as cool as Joe Smith, but I'm going to try.
What are you going to do with this motor?
Who knows?
Put it in something else?
Nah.
This is a 120 cubic inch motor that he's pulling out and putting a dual carb knucklehead in, which is really going to be quite a conversation
That'd be
piece, to
crazy.
say the least. You know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And going back to a flathead power when we started doing the panheads, and then I got in touch with Anders Nygren. This had to have been 1994. He was trying to reproduce some knucklehead components, especially the head. Well, he did standard heads, and standard heads, and he did dual carb heads. I have the very first set of flathead power dual carb head brought into America right over there, and that's what's going to go on this bike. And
Guys, this is going to touch a chord with everybody who's about to kick themselves in the ass for selling their first motorcycle or one of their first motorcycles. This is one of Barry. Tell them about this bike.
this is my first Harley Davidson I ever bought. It's a 1941 FL. Her name is Pearl, and the reason her name is Pearl is I finished a semi-restoration on it December the 7th, and which was Pearl Harbor Day, so that's its name. I got it when I was 19, February 1st, 1976. And I got it in a place called Ponte, Texas, from a fellow named Kenneth Rainwater. Holy cow, what a story that is. But what we're doing is we're re-restoring it not perfect. I'm gonna put it back in mine.
You're gonna ride it.
It's a rider. You know, Vivian just picked up a 1954 50th anniversary panhead FL 74 cubic inch, and it's coming down from Jim Weir's museum, Rocky Mountain Motorcycle Museum, and so that it should be here next week. It'll be here the next time you come see us.
We'll be back in 2 weeks, guys. So we'll do another shop walkthrough and maybe touch on some of the things we missed. I'm going to tell you straight up, there's no way in half an hour we can cover everything he's accomplished. I'm telling you guys, on the walls here, these aren't just posters. Maybe half of these are posters. The other half are all articles about bikes that were built, engines that were built in this shop, and race engines that set land world speed records, or engines that went into Easy Riders cover magazines, or ones that won biker build-offs like Vivian's bike. There's hours. If you ever get a chance and you're honored to come in here, there's newspaper articles. These are all newspaper articles and magazine covers from 45 years of spinning wrenches on the best American-made motors in the world, right here. This is it. You know, there's all kinds of plaques from and signed stuff from Indian Larry thanking them, and from the Panther group there, and just, you know, and there's bikes in here from presidents of MC, 1%er MCs. That one of these bikes in this road here is a president of a 1%er MCs. Barry is the founder. Not just president, founder. Now, Barry's neutral with all the MC world. He works on everybody's bikes, as we are at the museum. We're neutral, and we honor and support MC culture, RC culture, racers, all of it. We're
friends with those guys. We love those guys, man. We
absolutely. They're the real riders. You know, the ones who live, eat, breathe, sleep, dream, and love this stuff as much as we do. So we all have that in common. But anybody who's built a world-class engine for a bike, like the Indian Larry, and name, like, who are your top 5 guys that will ring a bell, you think, with the people out there, engine that use your engines?
I don't know, because I know them in a different way than they would know them. They might know them through a magazine or through a television show. I know these people on a personal basis, and it's like, who makes the best ribs? Man, I can't say. The last ones I ate, holy cow, how do you pick them? But some of the top ones was Larry, Billy, and the doggone Covingtons. Holy cow, David and Jerry can throw some stuff down now. Yeah. Beautiful stuff. I mean, look at this, Lucifer. Of course, these all blooming things have faded over time, but, oh my gosh.
Barry, the Captain America bike, you mentioned that too. Who's? I have one of those in the museum, but I can't remember who the manufacturer was.
Paco was doing them. At one time, they had done a collaboration with Panzer, and then Ron contacted me, and we just started selling them a few motors, and we would do the Billy bike. We would do the engine with silver cylinders, yep. And then but we did I don't know how many we did. 10. I'm guessing. I don't know. Probably 10 Captain America, and I'm gonna say 5 Billy bikes through Paco, but I really don't know the numbers. That I wasn't privy to all of what their sales and stuff like that were. I don't know.
Guys, before we started filming this, Vivian and Barry and I walked around, and there's just so much here. I got to say it again. We're gonna try to give you a sample of everything, but just too much here. But where we are now, we came in from the front door. This is where the magic happens. This is the machine shop area, and on the wall you've got Sonny Barger, the founder of the Hells Angels, correct? And
no, but he was a doggone early member. He's certainly the face of it, that's for sure.
Probably the most recognizable face in MC culture.
Oh yeah.
And there's all different nations of MC culture on the walls here. You've got Orange County Choppers in here. A lot of manufacturers.
To my son. We did Jay Leno's motor for them for the Bruff Superior copy.
Yep.
And they wanted me to take a knucklehead and they wanted me to replicate a Bruff Superior engine with what I did. I'm like, holy cow, I'm gonna do that. So I took a knucklehead and I put it on a nose cone lower end, and we did that. Put the carburetor out the left hand side. It was only to replicate the look. It's not.
You make it sound like that's easy. Maybe for you it is, but for mere mortals, no.
But article is up here on the wall.
Which bike?
So I took my
bike article for the Bruff Superior that he saw.
So I took my son up there to meet him, and it was a big thing for my boy. But Rick Petco, who worked for him, is still a good friend of ours.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Stevie Ray Vaughan
Sure,
gold
absolutely.
record here.
Yeah.
The last concert, Stevie Ray Vaughan. You got Dutch Holland. This is a local legend.
And this is signed by the guy that used to do the covers for the Atlanta Rhythm section. He did their album covers and whatnot. And, I mean, from Black Oak, Arkansas to there's Rogue.
Fantastic. Everywhere you look, and there's stuff that's not even hung up on the walls
This is
yet.
a great one right here. These guys, they sent me this flag. They were just happened to be fan. I didn't even know I had a fan other than my mom and my dog. And but they took this flag into Ramadi. They flew it when they went into Ramadi, Iraq. Yeah, and the guy sent me the flag, and he gets this colonel.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Did you get a little choked up when you opened that box and saw that?
I still do.
Yeah,
I still do.
Yeah. I can feel it, man. Because
I can quit talking about it anytime.
Yeah. That's that to have the members of the armed forces honoring what you're doing is like the highest honor a civilian could ever get.
I'm so grateful for things that have happened to me, my friend. It hasn't all been easy. And, about the losses in my life and whatnot. But I was so fortunate to have those kids, too. Holy cow. So this stuff comes from the heart. It doesn't come from a billfold. It's not about a checkbook. This is about
Passion.
I got to stop right there.
Yeah, it's passion. It's passion. And it's a love for the sport, the hobby,
And
the brotherhood,
people. It's
the people.
the blooming people.
Everywhere
They're
you got,
so-
every event you go to, you got it.
This was Larry.
They're all your
Larry
brothers and
said that's
sisters.
his favorite motorcycle, right? That was the best motor that he ever rode, right there.
That one right there?
And, yep, that one there. That was Larry's favorite.
I saw him talk about that on a reality show.
And my good friend Nelson Cedar's knucklehead. Look at that.
He said
There's Jay Leno's bike.
that one right there. Didn't he say that was the best handling one right there?
He said that was the best. He calls me up and he goes,
Did you build that
"Man,
motor for him?
oh yeah." And he said,
Guys, Indian Larry's favorite bike ever was built by engine. Was
Just the
built
engine. Just
by,
the engine.
by engine. Was that one right there?
That one
and
right
built
there,
by
and he said
Barry
that
out of
was
the
his-
shop right here.
he said that was his favorite
Made
motor
with
that he
these
ever
tools.
had.
That's why I said when I said earlier.
But he calls me up and he says, we're in eastern South Dakota. He says, I just got clocked at 132. Larry, the warranty's over.
You know what? There's one thing about Larry that people don't realize. They'll see his motorcycles there at a motorcycle event, and it'll be on the pedestal turning around. You got to look at that rear tire. It is.
Oh yeah, he rides the hell out of his
he rides the
stuff.
hell
Oh
out
yeah,
of
well,
it.
you built
he
something
rides
for
hard,
him.
hole shots and everything.
Larry
no
wrote
track.
his stuff,
He gives
and
it
so does
acid
Billy.
test. He
I
gives
mean,
it
they
acid
dog
test.
him,
Oh,
man.
yeah, there's no track.
Where's that poster that we're going to try to find?
Oh, that's
That's
the Breath
Jay's.
Superior.
That's the one that.
That's a Jay Leno. Okay, yeah, guys, describe this one to me real quickly.
Now that's OCC.
Well, it was Lawrence of Arabia. Jay has some of these SSD 100, these Rough Superiors, and I think he has like one. I think T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, had like 5 of these, and Jay ends up with one. I might be correct. I could be corrected on that also. But nonetheless, what OCC decided to do was make a chopper to resemble one. So they called me. I'm in a deer stand actually when they called me, and so they asked me if I could replicate or make an engine that kind of looked like one. I didn't know what to do with it, so I took a knucklehead and we put it on a nose cone lower end, but we used one of the S&S covers that had the chrome dome. We leave the chrome dome off, and you see this mechanically stuff that I like so much, and so we did that. We did it in a beautiful silver. That we still have that paint code to, and we pushed the carburetor out the left-hand side. And I had
That's Jay himself right there.
I had many conversations with Jay and about this thing. But we're not going to put that on the video. But I'll say it this: he loved the engine. We'll leave it right there.
I want to go back to, because we can't cover them all, but I want to go back to the statement I think I made on the intro, and that is that the only significant V-twin personality builder in the world that you haven't built, anybody who's a household name or well-known issue that you haven't built one for yet, and there's still a chance that you might, is Willie G. And Arlen Ness. And
it's not gonna
unfortunately, maybe,
But I would do it.
Hey, maybe Corey, you could build one for Corey, right? That'd
I
be
would
almost
do
as
anything
good.
for Corey. Corey gave us the wheels for her micro
my
build off bike.
discovery
He gave them
bike,
to
yeah.
it, and they were it was his prototype wheels. He didn't give us a set of wheels. He gave us a set of his prototype called the Bones wheels.
Yeah.
But this was a great one right here, man. This motor's right here. Holy cow! This one here. That's dual rear head pan head. that came out so freaking beautiful. And I cut all the motor mounts off, we welded them on, and the motor mounts look like they are supposed to be there. But that was one of my favorites. That's Larry Curich from Lone Star Choppers. He then took that, as a matter of fact, speaking of Willie G voted that his #1 bike at a show. But Larry went on to take that motor and drivetrain and put it in a really beautiful long chopper, really beautiful bike. But he kept the drivetrain, and it's not in that bike any longer. Michael Puglisi, and then he kicked that transmission up 1 inch. This was my doctor's. That was the very first Outlaw 120 engine that we built. And by golly, he's now passed away. I love that guy.
You mean your personal, like, medical doctor? Like,
Yeah,
he
was my doctor.
He rode too,
He was
huh?
my doctor and my
Everybody
friend.
around you got in a ride. It was like it was contagious, you know?
And then on the skating stuff, Jamie Thomas, the famous from Fallen and all that, he's from Dothan.
You got skaters too, huh?
Yeah, Jamie Thomas, my son was a skater. Hey, there's Valerie on the street bike up there.
That's
See
you?
her? That's Valerie up on the top left. That's her on the street bike. That's the first world record we got at Bonneville.
Tell me about that one.
That's the street bike. That was in the John Reed frame. I think he was selling that type of frame through CCI, or so he designed it for that. I believe I'm correct there.
How fast she go?
And her average was 141.
That's moving.
But she's almost got 150. Just an old leaky panhead and a street bike frame at 150, and you're a mile in the air. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's moving.
Yeah, considering the elevation.
So what are you doing over here? Can you explain what these are? Because this was part of, we talked earlier and you said that you are beyond doing this for money. You're beyond doing it for building motors, for mass producing them. You want to give back to the next generation all the information that's in your head. And guys, anybody out there watching who might want to get involved, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Barry would be willing to talk to you about possibly, he's looking to get a video editor in here to follow him around and document a lot of what he's doing. And he wants to teach the next generation all the magic that's in his head, because 45 years of building the best engines ever. And tell us, how many people are left that do what you do?
Well, I don't know if they're the best, but I know this. I step
They
up to
are
the
the
plate.
best.
I don't always hit a home
They
run,
are
but
the
I'll step
best.
up to the plate. You learn a hell of a lot, honestly, from your mistakes. You learn more, quite frankly, how not to do, what not to do, and things of that nature. But what I want to do is really share this. When you've been afforded some opportunities in life, I feel that you owe a little bit of that back. I feel that you genuinely owe a little bit of that back, and I'd like to share some of that. And we have our own YouTube channel, but the editing and all of that,
There's only a few videos on there on your channel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I talked to you a little bit about that. You just got to get someone here with a cell phone camera just to document what you're doing, man. It doesn't have to be too fancy.
Yeah.
And
So stay
Gypsy
tuned.
tries to do it, but she's gone half the year as a traveling nurse. She goes away for three months and 1 week.
My hope
every
is
3
my hope
months.
is that you can start documenting what you're doing here, getting it passed on. What is this operation here?
Well, one of the fun things is we get a lot of these pan heads in from time to time, and the exhaust spigots will just be blasted out. I think I did a